Okay, well now this area looks pretty good. So, now there's a few little buckles for a bunch of cottonwoods. Those trees are cottonwood trees. Deep grass. No, that blade is pretty sharp. I just looked at it. You know, I hit a few rocks, but the blade is still pretty sharp, so that's good. They make them strong. Awesome. I mean, you can't avoid hitting rocks. It's a little difficult. There's a few bigger buckles like that. That blade did pretty good. I don't want to turn the tractor off. How sharp it is still. I don't want to turn the tractor off because it might not start again. Something's flying around there. So along here it's pretty light brush, just gonna trim here and then just, you know, along here a little bit. Same on the other side. And there ends up being too big of a ditch down here on each side, so I'm only gonna go so far down. I can't go all the way down. So in here a bit, not a lot. I did a whole bunch in here about 4 or 5 years ago by hand. Me and my dad, we cut down a whole bunch of saplings. I had just a chainsaw, and they were all kind of falling on me. But, you know, they're little trees. They're harmless if they fall on you, but it's like here's a big pile of them. We just piled them up here. We had to cut down a whole bunch from the sides, and it was a big job. Definitely not doing that again. But you see, we piled a whole bunch more here, but it made a difference. So, you know, that job was worth it. But, you know, it's like some of it's almost all growing back again. You know, I'm glad we did it, but it's just such a big, you know, there's like a bit of a, yeah, it's not that bad of a ditch right here, but if you go any farther than that, well, I mean, I could go all the way, I might go like 2 feet, but then once you start getting to here, yeah, I might go like 1 or 2 feet over the entire thing. No, maybe not on this side. Steep. It's not really worth it. Just grass. But I'll go, you know, a lot up and down. Maybe not. But the main part is, and there's a bigger job after this. That blue tractor is pretty good as, you know, kind of a minor off-roading tractor because everything's metal underneath it. It doesn't have any weird filters or anything sticking out, no wires or really hoses. So, no, you just gotta watch what you're driving over, but there's more rocks. But it did what I wanted it to. If I lifted it up, I maybe could go a little further, but don't really need to. You know, it did good here. So, there's another area that I wanted along the fence over here. It needs a lot more brush cutting. So I found another way to put a tripod in the back of the tractor. I think, you know, it's almost good. that's what I've done. There's like ground wasp in a few places, so I'm not gonna walk around that and film that right now. I'll take a quad on this later or something and do a good job of filming. But that slip clutch that we bought is way better than those stupid shear bolts. There's a tree here. Let's move that. I think it's pretty light. Just move that by hand. And the tractor's a little warm. It's not overheating, but it's warm, so let it cool down while I move this. So I went a little wider than, two-row path, just because these trees are very small right here. So I want to get rid of a few more rows, just because they're small and they're easier to deal with. So, that bigger stuff, I could do more there, but I've seen that this area for about maybe 5 years, and they're not growing very fast. So I'll keep an eye on those, and if they grow in more, I'll cut them back even more. But they're kind of big for the brush cutter. I might just get a chainsaw in the fall when all the bees are dead. Like if they die in the fall, they hibernate or whatever. So that big stuff is a little big for the brush cutter. This brush cutter was probably built exactly to do what we're doing right now, like thin trees like that. I think that's exactly what it should be used for. kind of what it looks like in here. No, that brush mower did some pretty big stuff. Like that. That's pretty big. I'm kind of surprised it got through that. So this is, I think that tree was as big as this one. That's bigger than I would normally go with that thing, but I try to avoid those ones. But I mean, it cut it just fine. Lots of sticks. No, the tire kind of pushed over that stuff. But most of the time with the big stuff like this, you want to back up over it and not drive over it. If it's quite small, then I'll just drive forward over it. So this stuff, you could just drive over that with the tractor because it's nice and thin. Did a really nice job in here. I was kind of going to do in here, but I think all of this field is failed up now. Made this side a little bit wider. That was pretty good. And I could have done in here, but I think there's a few rocks in there. And I don't really feel like doing it. It's not really that important. But I'm glad I did in here. This is nice. That way you can get a tractor in the shipping container. If you're putting stuff in there, to park a tractor in there. Did a little bit on this side. I didn't want to go over too far because there's a big dip right there. So I don't think I could have gone over any farther. And then right here I could go in that ditch, but there's a tree there, so did a good job in here. And there is like pure clay right here. That there is like pure clay. Now it's a bit of mud over here, but right around here I think there's pure clay. In winter time, this thing, snow blows over that. Snow blows over this hill. In winter time, you can see how it's kind of a long hill, but snow blows over it. and I think it piles. I think snow comes in at about the same height as that, and then it just kind of like drops off maybe about right here. And so when I had my VMAX, my Yamaha 600 VMAX, I remember I used to just drive up this like hill. It was like that, this snowbank, and I used to just like drive right up it, and I thought that was like amazing. It wasn't that long, but that was fun. It was like so steep. Like how could a 90s VMAX short track get up that hill? But that was fun when I had the VMAX going. And if I was a smarter person, I could have kept that VMAX running, and it might still work today. So the big reason why I hate these quads is sometimes they don't change gear. You can hear it in the engine. It's a stupid electric motor. It turns and it doesn't change gears. So now it's working. See, it just does that. That's why I don't recommend one of these button-controlled quads, because they just do that all the time. Now, some do it more than others, but I mean, it works sometimes. It's a 2015, but that's why I don't recommend these. You always get the foot shift, because then they change gears every time you want them to without hesitation. There's supposed to be a control on here, and this part is supposed to stay still, but then, see, I had to use a plier. I need to weld something on this control, like a little knob or something. I welded something on this one, and that's good. That'll outlast everything. This has got a control, and this tripod is junk, but that was annoying. That last tripod, I kind of spent money on it, so I'm not going to buy any more expensive tripods. I'm always just going to buy cheap ones. Table here is, that does the job. It actually doesn't have to be tightened that much, so that's what I needed. So it works fine. This thing. So I asked that neighbor if I could go on their side of the, because the fence trail's on their side for some reason, but there's not much here, but at the top and going down this side, there's a bit of stuff. I don't want to go all the way down. I might not get back up again, and there's a swamp. Hardly any room to turn around in here. The tractor overheated, and then I shut it down, let it cool off for a while, and then the needle was on red. It went back to green, and then I used a bit of starter fluid to get it going again. And I noticed that there are some leaves in front of the radiator that kind of stuck to it. And I think if I clean the leaves out, that should fix the overheating problem. And then this time, I think it was just low on coolant. But the next time, it was kind of warming up as I was using it. I think those leaves are just causing that. It wasn't overheating, it was just getting warm. So as you can see on the left of the screen, there's a fence, and then that's the neighbor's property. And look how much brush there is there. It's like super thick of brush. And I cut that all down completely. And I thought that's a pretty, that's a pretty big difference. And I was going to do a little bit more on our side, as closest to the fence as I could, but I decided not to, because it seemed like it might have been kind of difficult. But whatever job I did get done, did pretty good. Yesterday this thing stalled out, and it doesn't start when it's warm for some reason, so. Now I did everything I could to it. It will not start when it's warm, without ether. And the can of ether ran out, so I had to just walk home, and then we ended up going to town that day. I got some more. It's got a can of ether in it now, but it starts okay when it's cold. It takes a while, turns over way more times than it should, but this tractor is a piece of junk. I don't know why, but it doesn't work right. I mean, it works, but barely. So I had to come out here on that thing. We'll come get that later, but let's continue on this side of the fence line as far as I can go, because there are trees that are down, and I'm not going to try to climb over them because I just broke a hole in the fence. So we'll go as far as we can. This is what the tractor does when you don't give it ether when it's cold. It will start, but I have to turn the throttle up, and then as soon as it fires up, I turn the throttle down because the throttle helps it prime. Usually it starts, but I'm gonna give it some ether anyway. Oh, this is the stuff I got. We'll let this warm up for a little while, and then we can continue working. I turned the thing off. It was getting really warm again. It was almost on red, so this is not the antifreeze, this is the diesel. And this thing has a stupidly small fuel tank in it. Like, I don't know how much that, like half. I should have like a stick to test that. And the gauge doesn't really work, but see the quad's here, so I'm gonna get a jerry can full of diesel. Cause this thing, you got it at like almost full RPM. You know, it's hard work for this tractor. Full RPM, you know, full power. And this tractor is still a little underpowered for this job, but you know, it's a bush tractor. Like, it doesn't have a lot of, like, when I'm driving over those huge bushes of saplings, now you normally would not want to drive over saplings like that. That could damage a newer tractor. But this one doesn't have anything really that would get smashed or anything seriously bent from saplings, you know, going under it. So everything's really tough under there. On this side especially. So the steering cylinder is up out of the way. And Andrew complained about his Ford tractor that it was in a weird place. Well, I guess he might be jealous of this design. The steering cylinder is out of the way. And no, this thing is a good brush. It's a good brush tractor. No, it really takes a lot out of it. But no, here, this stuff is a little bit vulnerable, but I'm just keeping my eye on it all the time when I'm driving, you know. And the saplings, when they bend over this way, they just kind of brush over it. But if there's like those little nubs sticking up this way, you wouldn't want to be, like if you already went a path over brush, and then the stuff sometimes is sticking like spikes coming out. So if you went the other way, that's what you want to not do, because those sticks can come and they can, I saw it happen actually, and I caught it. It came up here to there, and then I had to back up, and it was fine. But I would probably want to make a guard for that somehow. So I'd use like one of these bolts, like a piece of flat bar or something under here, and then a guard, you know, bolt, like a guard, something like that under here to protect that stuff. And then you could really not worry about it. But I just watch it all the time. Never take my eyes off of it. There's something. Oh, that's just the brake lights, I think. Yeah. So this here is the least that happened there. Oh, this thing might have broke, but that's just the brake light. That's the brake light mechanism in there. That's useless. You don't need brake lights. It's not broken. I think it's just loose. But I like these old tractors. It depends on the design, but this one is built pretty tough. I mean, I was pushing this thing pretty hard. I was driving over big bushes, like almost like the size of this willow. It's a wasp. There's wasp everywhere around here. Can't tell if there's a nest or what. But yeah, that's heavy duty brush for this cutter, and the engine would bog down sometimes. There was, I think, one big tree I cut out of the way. But this thing isn't going to last forever. It looks like the weld I made. I welded the gearbox to the frame, and that weld cracked. So it moves just a little bit. Actually not too bad. So it's not as bad as it was before I welded it. It moves just a little bit, but I mean, this brush cutter's getting worked so hard, it won't last forever. But no, I mean, it should be designed. It seems like it's designed to take that heavy of stuff. I mean, the blades are so thick. No, everything else seems like it can take it. If I had a tractor the same size but with a bigger engine, that's what you really need on one of these. Homemade bungee cords work pretty well. That's not gonna move. This quad is like ridiculously oxidized. It's only a 2015. Usually quads that are almost 20 years old are like that, but I guess this one's been sitting in the sun. You know, people drive it out to the hayfield, and it just kind of sits in the sun all day. So, like here's the, I think I pulled the cover off of that a year ago, and that's what the red was when it was brand new. Or not, well, this is maybe just a tiny little bit faded. But this is pretty much the color of it when it was new compared to this. Pretty big difference. These bungee cords to hold on the hood are great because then you can keep your coat safe. Especially with the ATVs. Like there's fuel tanks, there's weird places where air gets pocketed. So if I kind of shake the machine back and forwards, the air comes out. And then you can get a little bit extra fuel in. See if this thing starts. It doesn't start when it's warm. Sometimes it starts, sometimes it doesn't. climb this. That's the hill. Four-wheel drive is nice on a smaller tractor like this. These are electric fence. These are electric gates. It looks like there was an old corduroy across this creek. And there's a road that, there's a public road that ends at our neighbor's place over there. And I think the public road used to come all, like 100 years ago, it was maybe a wagon trail. And the public road used to come right through our neighbor's place, through this field. And it might have even come through here. And it just kept going up there, because you can see there's a little valley. It looks like a bulldozer had pushed down there many years ago, like 80, 90 years ago, before we bought this place. So I believe there might have been a road that went through here, and it goes through where I'm going. It goes through, and it goes all the way through the neighbors and out to another public road that is still being used. Or that road ends at, the public road ends at our neighbor's place, but the same road keeps going through. Lots of healthy cows eating grass. So this, I think, this might have been a very old road. This road I'm on right now. And this road could be like 90 years old. This is where this road just keeps going into the neighbor's place. But it's dirt here, it's not gravel. I didn't do too much, I just kind of did up the hill. Just kind of up the hill. I was gonna go back there. There's not a lot of brush back there. And I almost could have done a second trail. But then there's kind of a weird mound here, because this is a bulldozer trail. So this log fell across the road, so I cut it off. I cut all the limbs off. We may I might bring that back to the farm to use as a sawmill log. That's what I cut it. That's what I cut all the limbs for. That might make a good sawmill log. So I did along here, but it wasn't a lot to cut. Just kind of little brush. It was quite thick in here. I did, it looked kind of like that stuff in here. I did a little bit on that side too. And then that trail meets up to the side of the fence. I tried to go in here. See, there's a trail that goes in there, but then there's two big trees across. And then there's some stumps here, so you can't drive alongside. You'd have to go on that trail, and then it meets up with the fence again. So if I got a tractor in there with a loader, I could get rid of those two trees. And then I could get through here. Two big trees in here. One there and one there. There's really no way around. gate doesn't work if this bottom wire has to be up high enough. Well, there wasn't a lot to do here. So stuff like that under the fence we'll have to get with the hand brush cutter. So we call that the still cutter, because the brand of it is a still. So that stuff will have to be cut by hand. It was all saplings all along here. There's a whole bunch of saplings. Like, you couldn't really drive through here with the quad. It was all super thick. It was like really thick right here. Like where I'm driving right now, you could not drive with the quad before I cut this brush down. It was very thick. So I did a bit in here. I did a little bit at the kind of the other end of this trail, and then there's the field. And I really didn't do much in the field. And then I did a little bit in some of our firewood logging trails. So, you know, it's not that interesting. I didn't do that much in there. So in some areas in here, like right around here, it was trees all through here, super thick. Like you couldn't drive a quad in here. So it's made a huge difference. If I cut here again, then I won't hit that again. That brush cutter does a pretty good job. Now, if I had a loader on the tractor, I could have moved that, but it doesn't really matter. like almost as thick as that in here. It was really thick in here. It was just all trees along here. And this is that tree I had to cut out of the way. Just jumped over that hill. And then this is that big tree, so you can almost get all the way through, but I just need a tractor to move that tree. Looks really nice in there now. It's like wide on both sides. And then I did down this hill. Didn't do much, but no, I'm kind of surprised that tractor didn't get stuck or stall out. It did pretty good on that hill. There's like a rut in the middle. That's the cows. They walk up and down this trail. Over the years, they kind of carved a bit of a path in the middle, and then the water drains down it and washes it out a bit more. There's one big bush that I cut down here to give it more room. I almost wanted to open up a gravel pit on the side of that hill because there's quite a bit of gravel there. But I think it's more sand than gravel, so not the best. And then I was going to go down there, and then I realized there's like two huge ruts. It's kind of difficult, so I gave up. And I didn't really do any in here, and then this just goes out. So I guess that's it for this video of brush cutting.